Okay, so picture this. A book written over 600 years ago that pretty much invented modern social science. I'm not talking about just a list of kings and battles. I mean a deep dive into how human society actually works, what makes civilizations rise, and what makes them fall. Let's get into it. We're talking about the Muqaddimah.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. The famous 20th century historian Arnold J. Toynbee called it, well, just read that. The greatest work of its kind that has ever yet been created. Wow, that is a massive claim, right? So in this explainer, we're going to figure out what makes this book such a total game changer.
And here it is, the Muqaddimah. The title literally means the introduction. And get this, it was written way back in 1377 by this incredible thinker Ibn Khaldun as just the opening to a massive history of the world. But this intro was so revolutionary that it completely overshadowed everything else he wrote. So here's our roadmap. We'll look at what makes this work so special. Then we'll get to know the man behind it, Ibn Khaldun. After that, we'll unpack his brand new science of society, find out what makes it tick, and finally explore why his ideas are still so incredibly relevant today. All right, first up, what is it that makes this old book such a masterpiece? Well, to really get that, you've got to understand the guy who wrote it. See, Ibn Khaldun wasn't some academic locked away in a dusty library. No way. This guy was a man of the world, a scholar, sure, but also a diplomat, a judge, a political advisor. His life was packed with action and intrigue, and all that real-world experience, it was absolutely crucial to his thinking. I mean, his life story reads like an adventure novel. He was born in Tunis, he navigated the treacherous politics of North Africa and Spain, but one event, man, it just sums him up. In 1401, when he's almost 70 years old, he comes face to face with one of the most feared conquerors on the planet, Tamerlane. So picture the scene. Tamerlane's army is surrounding the city of Damascus. Ibn Khaldun is inside. So what do? They literally lower him over the city wall in a basket to go negotiate. He ends up spending weeks in Tamerlane's camp, not as a prisoner, but as a respected equal, just debating history and politics with him. It tells you everything you need to know about his character. So this experienced, worldly guy, he looks at how history is being written in his day, and he is deeply unimpressed. He sees other historians just blindly repeating unbelievable stories without thinking. He called this approach, and I love this, the pasture of stupidity. And he decided he was going to fix it. He saw this huge problem. On the one hand, you had traditional history, which was basically just a list of kings and events, full of errors and stuff people just made up. But Ibn Khaldun proposed something totally new. He said, let's use critical thinking. Let's search for the causes, the reasons, the patterns. He wasn't just asking what happened, he was asking why. He wanted to find the very laws that make societies work. And he even gave his new science a name, Ulmer. You can think of it as the science of human social organization. He believed that just like the natural world has laws of physics, human civilization has its own set of laws. And the whole point of history for him was to figure out what those laws are. So if there are laws, what's the driving force? What's the engine that makes history go? For Ibn Khaldun, it all came down to this one really powerful idea. And that idea is asabiya. Now, it's a little tricky to translate perfectly, but think of it as group feeling or social cohesion. It's that invisible glue that holds a group together, a tribe, a nation, whatever. It's their collective spirit, that shared purpose that gives them the drive to build something, to conquer, to create a dynasty. For Ibn Khaldun, asabiya was the secret sauce. But here's the genius part. Ibn Khaldun noticed that this powerful group feeling, this asabiyaya, doesn't last forever. It decays. And that led to his famous cycle of dynasties. It goes like this. The first generation, the builders, are tough. They have strong asabiyaya. Their kids, the followers, they learn from them, but it's secondhand knowledge. By the third generation, the imitators, they're just going through the motions. And then comes the fourth generation, the destroyers. They've grown up in luxury, they're soft, they've lost that essential group feeling, and the whole thing collapses, making way for a new, tougher group to rise up and start the cycle all over again. So what does this all add up to? Why are we, here and now, still talking about a book from 1377? Well, it's because the questions he was asking and the tools he created, they're basically the foundation for a ton of what we study in the social sciences today. I mean, just look at this. He pioneered a new critical way of writing history. He essentially invented sociology with his science of Umran. His whole analysis of asabiya and the cycle of power is fundamental to political science. He even got into economics, talking about labor and value. The guy was literally centuries ahead of everyone else.
And you know what? He knew he'd done something huge. This quote is from a modern play, but it captures his spirit perfectly. He knew he wasn't just writing another history book. He was creating an entirely new way to understand the human world.
So I'll leave you with this to think about. When you look at the world today, at political movements, at the rise and fall of companies, even countries, how can this 600-year-old idea of asabiya, of group feeling, help you make sense of it all? Turns out, his ideas might just be more relevant than ever.